What is up, folks? Welcome to another Premodern video. We're going to play in the Magic Online Society League, and what I have for you today is playable Deadguy Ale. You know, it's obviously a joke. I always say how Deadguy Ale, as it's currently built, it's kind of unplayable. I don't like the whole Dark Ritual into Hypnotic Spectre, and people don't appreciate that. But at this point, I am committed to the meme. So this is what I wanted to try out today. It's definitely not Deadguy Ale, but I'm still gonna call this playable Deadguy Ale because the meme is stronger than the deck. So what is this? What is this new approach to black-white? What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get rid of all of the nonsense, and this list was inspired very, very much by the junk. The decree list that I was playing, that I brewed and I play a league with like a couple of months ago. I can't remember when that was, so you can check that video out if you want to see what I'm talking about. But it's basically like a junk deck that plays the engine of Eternal Dragon and a late game of Decree of Justice in order to win the game. And what we're doing here is we're basically cutting the green. The other deck was base green because of Rampant Growth specifically. This deck is cutting the green and is straight up black-white. What I'm trying to do is to have the most solid mana base that I can possibly put together in these colors in Premodern, which is really, really hard. So we have, 9 basic plains, 9 basic swamps, and then 2 reflecting pools, 4 caves of Koilos, and 2 dust bowls. Sure, I could be playing stuff like City of Brass, I could be playing stuff like the Colosseum, probably more likely than City of Brass, because City of Brass, you can only play so many. I'm trying to actively get to turn 20, you know what I'm saying? At least turn 15. So the longer the game goes, hopefully the better that it gets for me. So in that context, then playing a card like City of Brass, which if it's your only land, you kind of have to keep the hand, and then like you're going to be taking infinite damage. Like you probably can't afford to do that kind of stuff. But what we're doing is we're cutting all of the nonsense. No Dark Rituals, no Hypnotic Specters, no Nantuko Shade. All of the cards that everybody loves from back in the day. Getting rid of all of that, and we're only playing the good cards, which are Gerard's Verdict, Vindicate, probably the best 1-drop in the entire format in Swords to Plowshares, and the best black 1-drop in the rest. So we're taking advantage of all of the good cards that Black and White has to offer, and then we're actually playing them in the context of a control deck. So I'm using the same engine that I was using in the junk decks with Eternal Dragons and Decrease as my win condition. I'm also adding 4 copies of Exalted Angel because even though, this would technically enable my opponent's otherwise dead Swords to Plowshares or whatever, I'm going to be playing, 4 Duresses and 3 Gerard Verdicts, maybe more in post-board games, so the likelihood that they still have cards in hand by the time the Exalted Angel comes down is probably going to be pretty small. So I think that a deck like this actually has a better time making sure that I use Exalted Angel to get there all the way than the other deck, that the junk deck. So that is kind of what I'm trying to do here. Exalted Angel is a fantastic card, my favorite card in the format. So whenever I build a deck like this, I'm very, very excited to play many copies as Exalted Angel, as many as I can. And then Wrath of God is a way to catch up if you manage to fall behind. You will notice that my removal suite is 4 Swords to Plowshares and 4 Vindicates. There's no stuff in the main deck up the curve. I chose to go with a Disenchant, and I chose to go with more like straightforward cards. So I'm playing a couple of Phyrexian Furnaces main deck a la Selden from LobsterCon, and I think that this is great in a control deck like this one. It has been fantastic in the junk deck at least, so I'm assuming the same here. And I'm going to have access to that in the post-Saturday games with Smother, Diabolic Edict, and Vendetta. So I wanted a way to make sure that I can, wipe the board and start things over, particularly if like a Lackey happens to sneak through or something like that. We can catch up with Wrath of God. That's why all of my lands enter the battlefield untapped, because I think it's going to be really important for this deck to make sure that it can all of its lands enter untapped, because I cannot miss a beat. Like if my 4th land when I'm trying to cast a Wrath is an ETB tapped land, that is a time walk that I just can afford to gift my opponent. So we're not gonna be messing around with that. We also have a Dust Bowl in the mana base, as I said earlier. This card has been fantastic. A 3rd one in the sideboard for the mirror match style decks, control decks, and mid-range decks. This card has been fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Dust Bowl, and we're going to be playing some of that, which works out really well alongside the Eternal Dragon. And then the fun of X spells over here, Skeletal Scrying and Death Grasp. they kind of fuel one another, which is interesting. So that's Grasp, you know, if I need to spend 3 mana to kill a Lackey or Savannah Lions, which is actually relevant these days considering the new Premodern metagame. And then Skeletor's Crying as a way to refuel in the late game. So we actually have some pretty decent cards to close the game up once we get to the late game, the late part of the game. In the sideboard we have just cards to shore up different matchups. We have access to Haunting Echoes for the control, the, you know, combo matchups, stuff like Replenish, which it did really well at Euros, and things like that. Engineer Plague versus the Elves and the Goblins of the format alongside Plague Spitter. So I'm doing like a little bit of a split there, little bit of a spit there, but maybe 4 Plagues would be better, maybe 2, I don't know, but I wanted to give a shout out to the potato and see if it actually works here. We also have some Cop Reds because of, you know, Sly and stuff like that. This is a deck that is looking to make, if I can make 15 land drops, I'm actively trying to do something like that. So that's what Eternal Dragon helps with, and that's why Cop Red feels like the better card over something like Warmth. So in the late game, if I top it like this, it's going to be incredible as opposed to, you know, something like Warmth, which is not going to be particularly exciting. Then this Enchant Seal of Cleansing as a way to have some extra answers to your Dreadnoughts and, like, you know, stuff like Sylvan Library, things like that. And then Smother, Diabolic Edict, Verdict? No, Vendetta. So those cards to help with the removal and make sure that we don't fall too far behind versus the creature decks in the early game. 4th copy of Gerard's Verdict. This is going to be mostly for the combo matchups and stuff like that. And then a singleton copy of Stormlord Crypt versus the combo decks. I consider stuff like Withered Wretch, but I don't think that card really cuts it, honestly. Even though I do think, you know, like, we bring a creature in a mostly creatureless deck, you know, it's kind of great, we have a lot of mana, but Wretch has been really disappointing when I've tried it in basically every deck that I've tried it, unless it's an aggro deck. So against decks that are putting a lot of pressure, Wretch can make things, in decks that are putting a lot of pressure, Wretch can make things really awkward for your opponent because you're forcing them to go off or like to combo or do whatever they need to do in a spot where they're not ready to do that. Whereas given enough time, most decks will just find an answer to the Wretch and then just like move on from there. So I'm not playing any Wretches here. We're only playing the singleton copy of Tormod's Crypt. This is a deck that we're going to be playing through the league. Hopefully we're going to play some sick matches, as it tends to happen when you're playing the best format in Magic. So if you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you for round number 1. Alright folks, here we go, round number 1. Yeah, we're on the play, so I think we can keep this hand. We got turn 2 Verdict, turn 1 Plowshares, and then with any land, we have 24 lands left in our deck. I mean, this is kind of the beautiful thing about building the deck like this. Obviously, this is, as I explained in the deck, this is a much different deck than actual Deadguy Ill. But when I'm looking at a white-black deck or how to build a white-black deck, this is kind of feels a lot more interesting to me to be doing something like this, as opposed to doing some like dark ritual nonsense, right? Imagine like if I top deck a dark ritual instead of a land, then I'm in a situation where, you know, I can't really do anything, right? Like I'm 2 for 1 in myself to Vindicate, or I can just, you know, do my thing. Okay, so we're playing against Enchantress. This matchup is gonna be rough if McLean finds an Enchantress this turn. Also pretty unlucky that we did draw our Swords of Plowshares, which is not gonna do anything. City of Brass, and there's the Enchantress. Okay, so we did find the Dust Bowl, and I just F6'd. Boo. Alright, so what we would have done is, I guess we would have just Dust Bowled the City of Brass. Unclear whether that was really going to do anything. McLean is asking whether I intended to pass. I'm like, no. I did not. No, it's fine. He's just too kind, and he's just gonna pass the turn back. So okay, I appreciate it. So I'm just going to play as if I, you know, as if I had just done this. We do have an interesting spot here as to whether we want to like Vindicate or we want to start pressuring my opponent. I think I'm going to Vindicate the City of Brass. And the reason for doing this is because I think that it limits what my opponent can do, and also my opponent could have some sort of removal for the angel, and then just that's actually going to be a problem. Also, there's the fact that we do have a second Vindicate, which makes it so I can blow up one more land. Because of the Dust Bowl, maybe I was supposed to just Vindicate the basic forest instead of the City of Brass. I don't know. I do think that this game is probably gonna be very close, but eventually he's just gonna get out of this because the Enchantress is just gonna be too much to keep up with for me. He does find the land, and he gets Sterling Grove, drawing a card. I mean, I'm definitely going to Vindicate something, and I think I'm going to Vindicate the green source. I think the blowing up the green source is going to be more important than blowing up the white source. We're almost at a point where we can just hardcast this Exalted Angel, by the way. Okay, so he does have the land. Yeah, this is probably going to be too much. If I find maybe another Vindicate, I could... Yeah, that's actually a dead draw. So we're just going to play out this Exalted Angel and pass the turn back. I think we can't win anymore unless he really fizzles. The good thing though is I do think that post board we're gonna have like a very sound plan, right? Like we're gonna get rid of all of this like Source of Plowshares and this like dead cards, and then our deck is just gonna be entirely gas. And then we have access to bangers such as Haunting Echoes. Oh, he actually pays for Elephant Grass. That's very interesting. Oh, no, he doesn't. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it doesn't really make sense to pay for Elephant Grass there, so. If I find the land, I'm just going to hardcast the second Angel. Yep, that's a presence. So now he's going to be drawing 2 cards per enchantment. I guess my best bet is just flip this angel and then just, I don't know, he somehow fizzles. I don't think that I have too many chances at this point. Second Enchantress. Third Enchantress, okay. So my out now is that we can deck. And so we can swing for 4 and play a second angel. Guess we're doing that. Swing for 4. Pay 2 for the Elephant Grass. Crack Sterling Grove on end step, and he's just gonna go get... I guess technically I can just draw a Disenchant. So I guess I'm not gonna concede just yet, because now that he sacked the Sterling Grove, I have that as a potential out. If he gets Solitary Confinement, I can just blow it up and then swing. I just went for the wards. Let's the Elephant Grass go. City of Brass. We can blow that up, so at least there's that. Just casual. Draw 5. Draw 4. No big deal. I guess I can Source to Plowshares my own angel if he does pay for words. This is... I guess I can... I'm trying to think if there's any outs that I may have here. I'm gonna Source to Plowshares the angel just to gain 2. They can pay mana to like deal me damage, I guess. But I can technically find a Disenchant and blow this up. The problem with doing that is that if I do that, then... like I don't have any outs to the other card, right? Kill my angel. So as is, I can draw a Vindicator or a Disenchant and blow this up. And then he needs Replenish. Disenchant would be ideal because I can also blow up his red source. Though probably not going to matter. He discards a bunch of things. Disenchant? One time? No. So we're just gonna cycle Decree, I guess, for the full amount. And we're just gonna go for the cheese. And I guess it's technically not the cheese. I can make 4 tokens. And he can kill the angel. And then I can potentially force him to chump. Look, I'm playing to my outs here. I'm not saying that, that I'm likely to win this game. Replenish. Okay, I'm gonna concede to that one. Sideboard. Get this Source of Plowshares out of here. Give me Disenchant, Verdict, Seal of Cleansing, all of these. I think I don't want Wrath of God. Like, the Wrath of God is just like a worse Plague or Plague Spitter. Duress is great. Furnace is fine. I don't think I want Tormod's Crypt, but I do think that Furnace is okay. Had the Death Grasps. Actually, Death Grasp may have been the card to get there last game. I forgot that I had Death Grasp in my deck. One more card to cut. I do think I do like Skeletal Scrying. Like, my opponent can't really pressure my life total. I can potentially take advantage of that. Vindicate's good. Verdict is good. I do like my lands, obviously. Passes. I guess I'm just gonna cut the Death Grasps. Maybe I should have a Diabolic Edict as an answer to a single Enchantress. What do we got here? It's a not very good hand. Mulligan. This hand is much better. I think I'm going to bottom... this is actually very interesting. I can bottom either Disenchant or Plague, so I'm basically taking a bet. Alternatively, I can bottom Dust Bowl. If I bottom Dust Bowl, then I'm gonna be really needing to find a land. I have 24 draws to get. 23, actually. 23 out of... yeah, so less than half. I guess I'm I'm not gonna bottom the land. Exalted Angel is my clock. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to bottom the disenchant because my opponent's best opening is to turn to the Enchantress, and I have like the perfect foil for it. Moves to 5, which makes my verdict that much better. But yeah, if he has like an Enchantress opening, like an Enchantress's Presence opening, then obviously this bottoming the disenchant is gonna look very silly. But gotta make a choice. Turn 1 Wild Growth. Ooh, so I think I'd actually rather duress. So he has the Enchantress. Okay, cool. This is great. Now I'm gonna be able to kill the Enchantress. Alternatively, I can. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to Plague here. Next turn, I get to cycle Eternal Dragon plus Verdict. Plays Sterling Grove. Verdict not looking so hot right now. I think I'm just going to morph an Exalted Angel. I think it's going to be important for me to keep the pressure up. And maybe I can manage to get some good value from this Verdict eventually. I do wonder if he's going to just sack Sterling Grove here to search for Enchantress's Presence. Just try to go for that. Yeah, now I'm regretting like going for the Duress as opposed to the Gerard's Verdict. But obviously at the point I didn't know, right? Like I wanted to make sure that I could play around my opponent having Enchantress's Presence in hand because I already had the Argolthian Enchantress locked up. That's not bad. So let's cycle Eternal Dragon, and I'm going to vindicate. I'm gonna vindicate one of lands, I think the basic forest. I guess it's the only land that makes sense, so yes, we're gonna do that. Also a nice little 2-for-1, don't mind me. I could have gone for blowing up the Sterling Grove, but I don't think that really achieves anything. Next turn I do get to flip the Angel, and due to this fetch, that's notably gonna put my opponent on a 4-turn clock. Flip that one. Depending on what McLean does next turn, I'm going to upkeep Eternal Dragon. If he does nothing, I'm just going to, because I don't think I'm using my mana otherwise. I guess he can replenish. Ugh, replenish would be pretty bad. Opalescence. Oh, that's fine. That I actually don't care too much about. Upkeep Eternal Dragon and draw planes. And we actually get to swing with this Plague, which is nice because he drew a bunch of fetch lands, so pretty nice. So I guess I'm gonna get comboed out. Gonna go down to 6, and he's gonna go with Parallax Wave, which means I'm not gonna have creatures for a while, which sucks. So until I find a disenchant, I can't have creatures anymore. And there's no way I could have played around this, unfortunately. All he needs to do is like to just stack his triggers properly. It's gonna plane cycling. I'm not really doing anything else with my mana. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Seal of Cleansing is pretty good. It actually stops this nonsense. So let's do that. So we're going to play Seal and pass the turn. And then next turn I get to cast the Eternal Dragon, which is lethal. I do have to destroy the Opalescence, unfortunately. Oh, I actually messed up. I should have done this main phase. I don't know why I didn't. Because now he's gonna get to reset his Parallax Wave. So he's going to actually have one more turn of Parallax Wave. So I shouldn't have given him the option. That was an unnecessary mistake there. Shouldn't have done that. Ugh, it's a really good draw. Really good top deck for him. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's a 5/5. I'm gonna cast another 5/5 next turn, which both are gonna get waived. Man, like he top decked really well there. Ugh, he top decked really well there. That's very rough. So cast another dragon and pass the turn back. Decree would have been my best draw there, I think. If he draws Replenish, I lose. If he draws another Opalescence, I also lose. Parallax Wave, I can beat. I'm definitely gonna cast Gerard's Verdict now. Yep, especially with the second one. Because he did not play a land, so that tells me that he actually has a spell in hand. Ooh, it was a Replenish, yeah. Alright, good dodged. Good dodge there. I'm now just gonna kill this dragon here. I wonder why he didn't use the other one. That's one less turn now. I need him to whiff for 2 turns. And that is bad news for me. All of that is very bad news for me. Oh my god. I can't believe that. Oh my god, I can't believe he top decked that. And there's no way that I can make this work so that I can make him discard. Oh, I can't believe he top decked that. What now? Dude, this game was so close. So he's gonna have exactly enough counters to make the wave combo happen again. So this is going to go on his upkeep, and then he's going to get back. I'm gonna get my dudes back, but I can't really use them for anything. So I guess I just have to send the turn back. I have to draw a Decree. So my plan is, wave is gonna go away, then he's going to sack Sterling Grove to go get Opalescence, and then I vindicate the Opalescence, He's gonna get his wave. Yeah, and this is all because of the mistake that I made, by the way, where I allowed him to have exactly one more counter on his wave. If I hadn't done that, then I think that I would have been able to have exactly like his stuff would have gone away. Is what I'm saying. His waves would have gone. Maybe he doesn't have a second Opalescence. Seems very unlikely, but that could be my out. Enchantress's Presence. Okay, I guess there's no second Opalescence. So the thing now is that I have to dodge him finding good cards here. Second Sterling Grove, dude. Oh my god. Fetches, Elephant Grass. Okay, don't care about that one too much. So I guess I'm gonna have to get to blow this up, but I don't know if that does anything. So either one of these is lethal. Skeletal Scrying is very interesting. I don't think interesting enough, so I can draw 4. What am I trying to do? I draw 4. I have 4 mana left. Let's start there and draw 4. Let's see if this yields something good. Let's do rest first. You can find another Black Source, which is rough, but kind of past this at this point. I don't think Presence number 3 matters at all. Seal doesn't do anything. Wild Growth, I mean, they just draw cards, right? So I guess my plan is going to be to Enchantress's Presence, make them discard that, do res, take the other Presence, and then force him to use one of these Parallax counters. So close yet so far away. He's gonna get to draw way too many cards now. But maybe, just maybe, I can put something together. He goes for Sterling Grove. He goes for Confinement. Well, I can blow that up, so that's not the end of the world. He's kind of a little bit short on mana. That's the big thing going on here. He can only play so many spells. These Wild Growths are gonna do a lot of work, but he can only play so many spells here. He found the Replenish. Okay, that's a Confinement. Ooh, okay, now he's not bottlenecked anymore. Mana no longer an issue. I don't think if there's anything that I can do where I can just like, blow up the Sanctum and top deck a Disenchant, blow up the Sterling Grove and blow up the Confinement, but then he still waves the Eternal Dragon away. He can still just top deck Replenish. Sacred Ground. That's an interesting one. So he found the words, which means that now he cannot get decked anymore. I guess that's kind of funny to think about, that if he hadn't found the words in time, like if like the words was like the second to the last card in their graveyard, he would have died. Well, I guess he can Sterling Grove for it. Still, it's kind of funny to think about. Wait, no. He's gonna deck now. I think he messed up. And I think he kind of outplayed himself a little bit there. Okay, so he says he didn't misclick, so I'm just gonna see what's up. So I guess I just pass the turn now, because I cannot destroy enchantments, and I cannot destroy the creature, and I cannot destroy lands either because of Sacred Ground. So this is hilarious. But now he can't cast enchantments anymore. No, he can just replenish. Okay, so no idea what's going on, but I'm just going to cast this Angel. That's gonna be it. I don't have anything else going on. Can't attack because of the Confinement, but he also can't draw cards because he's gonna deck himself now. I think he told me he didn't misclick, but like, I think that now he can't win. He has to have another Replenish, right? So with another Replenish, he actually wins because he discards to the Confinement. He discards the word to the Confinement, and then that's it. But yeah, now, as long as there's 2 Enchantress's Presence and 1 Argothian in play, he literally cannot prevent himself from decking. Sterling Grove was destroyed. Go find Exploration. Okay. Blow up the own Enchantress's Presence. Okay, so he figured it out. So now he's gonna need to have enough enchantments to kill me. That is the new goal now. He needs to have enough enchantments to kill me, and I can still upkeep, get back my Eternal Dragon. So I think, yeah, because it's funny, like how that, because he cannot kill my things and me. He actually does not have lethal, and then I just keep bringing back the Eternal Dragon, and then I can just vindicate the Wars of War after I untap. Wow, I can't believe that we actually got there. Obviously, I mean, he's learning the deck, and that was like a pretty crucial mistake that he made, like a pretty crucial sequencing mistake. That's incredible. that's so weird. Anyway, on to game 3. I think on the draw I want Edict as a one-off, because I can just, draw that, before the Plague. And I think I'm gonna cut the Plague Spitter on the draw. The reason for that is that is 2 turns. Oh, that's what happened. Okay, so now McLean explained in the chat, he said he needed to crack the Grove earlier to find the Wars of War, since it ended up being in the last 3 cards. Okay, so that was the problem. Oh, I see. Alright, so that was awesome. So I just asked McLean to play another game. So we're going to be on game 3. He's going to be on the play. I think I want this same setup. The cards that I'm thinking about are Tormod's Crypt and Plague Spitter. These are the two cards that I could see coming in. I just saw that he has like 1 or maybe 2 replenishes, so I'm not super high on the Tormod's Crypt, and Phyrexian Furnace cycles anyway, so I think this is fine. Okay, what do we have here? Good mana, but not too much going on. He's on the play, and not doing anything until turn 3 is kind of scary, so I'm gonna ship this. This is better, but not that much. I'm gonna keep this, and I'm gonna bottom Decree. Looking for a white source so I can verdict on 2. This is not a great draw, particularly if he has acceleration, but this enchant's not bad. I just need a white source now, and Eternal Dragon actually does count towards that. City. Okay, so it's not the worst draw, I guess. We get to take one of these presences. Yeah, that's the only option there. So if I find the white source now and he gets to put the presence into play, I can just disenchant it, so that's something at least. This is, I never understand this. Like, why are these decks, like, I understand Guile out of this deck specifically because of you want 1-drop so you can keep cycling, but woof! Alright, damn. The worst land I could have drawn, but I mean, at least it gets the job done there. And if I claim correctly, you know, he didn't find a land in the top 3, and he correctly drew all 3 cards from the library, just paying 8. Really need a white source here, please. Once again, Eternal Dragon that gets the job done. White source, perfect. So now this is great, because now we get to Verdict and Disenchant, being in both of the cards that I am aware of. And then I'm going to, on his put a stop on his draw step. So I'm going to have him make these decisions with Guile in library without knowing that I'm going to disenchant the Enchantress's presence. And after he makes his choice, on his draw step, I'm going to blow up the Enchantress's presence, so he doesn't get priority to start casting enchantments. Of course, he can just have replenish here, and then the game's going to end, but yeah, alright, so that's really bad for me, obviously. Do we just lose now? He has both Guile and Library. Yeah, I think we just lose now. I mean, he's at 7 after all, so... But now he's going to be too many cards. This Verdict is not likely to do too much. If it were for the library, I'd feel in much better shape, but with library in play and now presence and now Grove, this is, yeah, we're just down here now. But now we can't connect because you can just wave my dude away. So swing for 2. I can make 2 1/1s, which doesn't really do anything, but I guess it's better than just verdicting when he has 4 cards in hand. I'm surprised that he didn't have any more replenishes in game number 2. Is he only playing 1? I'm gonna definitely ask him afterwards, because I would have imagined that replenish would have beaten me game 2. Just plays and Forgotten Enchantress immediately dies. I think he forgot that there's a plague. A lot of mana. Man, the Enchantress deck is so good. This deck is criminally underplayed. If he has the Opalescence, I'm going to concede. But if he doesn't, maybe... Oh, second wave is gonna be enough. Alright, I'm gonna pack it in here. So now Opalescence means that he can kill all my dudes. And my plan was to like just to play like a Decree here and like attempt to clock him while he's at 5. But with the second wave now, there's no need for him to like go any lower than this. So soon enough. See you for the next round. Good games we're playing. See you next round. What do we got here? A hand that really needs some black mana. Let's ship this. And this looks better. I think I'm going to keep this, and I think I'm bottoming one of these Decrees. I don't think I'm going to need 2, at least not for now. So if we're playing against a creature deck, then we're going to be able to Wrath. If we're not playing against a creature deck, then I'm going to be very sad. But I guess even if we're playing against a control deck, we have a Decree. Like, Decree is fantastic versus control. Opponent moves to 5. Turn 1 Forest into Bird. Let's see where this goes. Great basic choice by my opponent. Big fan of the Mirage basics. Love it. So opponent goes and gets a mountain, but nothing else. So no idea what my opponent's up to as of right now. I mean, the good thing is that we don't need to Wrath. So we can just take our time and we can just sandbag this Wrath of God. Tanglewire, sure. So I guess we're playing against... Yeah, so we're playing against Survival Welder. Tanglewire is pretty good. It's going to buy my opponent a pretty decent amount of time, but they definitely need to pressure me somehow. Also, it's going to get to a point where this Decree is going to eventually blank the Tanglewire. So even if my opponent starts looping the Tanglewire over and over again with the Welder, we're just going to have too many permanents to care. So that's nice. Queer and Ranger, okay. It's more for my Wrath of God. Yeah, we may need to fire off this decree just to have more permanence in play to make sure that this Tangle Wire doesn't log us out. We're only taking 1 damage though. Opponent can even untap this and like replay their basic. Looks like they don't even care. And it's not like it really matters, so. Okay, play a swamp, pass the turn back. Just taking our time here. No need to do too much. Second Wrath of God is not terrible, honestly. Definitely pretty happy that my opponent was not really able to get too much value from this Tangle Wire. Because like this card can be pretty backbreaking. But it seems like my opponent, I don't know, they kind of like, I feel like maybe they just run it a little bit too early. Okay, now that's a big deal. Alright, that one is a problem. That's the 1-2 punch that I'm a little bit more scared about. Fortunately, we do have a bunch of land drops here, so... But we may get locked here. If my opponent has like a Sabos Web or something, that could be the absolute worst possible. But we continue hitting our land drops. Man, that Winter Orb is pretty devastating. We're definitely going to need to find something here. And even with this Welder in play, even a Disenchant just doesn't really do anything. So what we really want to dodge is Sabos Web. Sabos Web would be kind of unbeatable. Because then my opponent can start like putting the Tangle Wire into the graveyard and then like Sabos Webbing. I guess Survival would also be pretty bad for me. 3 mana. Second Tangle Wire would also be terrible. Second Tangle Wire means that my opponent they just loop Tangle Wire over and over again until I find an answer to this Goblin Welder. Survival Welder really is a fantastic deck. I think it's really, really underplayed. That I don't care too much about. Although I guess my opponent's gonna get to, on the way out, my opponent's gonna get to like put this nasty core in the graveyard and then just like bring back the Welder, the Tangle Wire. That part I do care about. Okay, another Plains and we pass the turn once again. We're gonna be taking 6 here. If I can dodge, my opponent having a second Tangle Wire or something like that, I think I can get there. Because my opponent's not going to have anything in the graveyard, and then we just get to Wrath. We only get to untap 1 card, one land, but it doesn't matter. Because that's all we really need. So if I get to untap here, we're going to be in really good shape. Tangle Wire doesn't do anything. Good. Play my land. Wrath of God. Opponent can't even regenerate. And then I just have to Vindicate the Winter Orb. But as long as that Welder remained in play, then I just would not be able to do anything with the artifacts, right? My opponent can just get them back over and over again. Tangle Wire number 2 is pretty good. Tangle Wire number 2 is quite strong there. The good thing is it also kind of locks my opponent out a little bit, right? I'm not going to play this land out because it's just going to get tapped by the wire. Honestly, maybe I shouldn't even have played this one. Oh no, you don't want to tap the Winter Orb. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a massive mistake. Oh, they were forced to do that. It's not a mistake. They were just forced to do that. Oh yeah, that's very good for me. Okay, now I just blow up the Winter Orb and we just go about our business like nothing's, like no problem. So Vindicate the Winter Orb. And now I imagine we're just gonna get there from here. Opponent only 2 cards in hand. I honestly didn't even think about that. Like if we had been playing in paper, I would have missed that for sure. But yeah, my opponent was forced to tap the Winter Orb just because of how it works. Tap my lands. Do I care about killing this? I don't think I do. I think I'm just gonna make some decree tokens here. Because honestly, like the only thing I really care about is another Goblin Welder. So we're just gonna make 5 tokens here. Maybe I should have just made 2 angels. 2 angels would have been the faster clock. Yeah. Well, super rewarded. By making 5 dudes that I can just tap to the Tangle Wire, no problem. This allows my opponent to have access to a bunch of mana, but I don't care about my opponent having a bunch of mana, I don't think. Feels like my hand just beats whatever they have. So I'm just gonna tap 1 land from that one. I want to make sure that I have 6 mana. So I'm just going to do that. Duress. The reason to make sure I have 6 mana is because of if I top deck exactly Exalted Angel. I'm gonna Duress here. I don't know what my opponent could have. I think that they would have played whatever they had. Bottle Gnomes. Yeah, I'm just going to swing for 3 here. Leave 1 dude back to block. Yeah, these Tangle Wires really do have some diminishing returns. The first one is pretty frequently backbreaking, particularly when comboed with Winter Orb, but number 2 and then number 3, like they don't remain as good. I do wonder if 2 Angels would have been better than all of these tokens. Pretty likely so. So this tells me that my opponent drew another creature because they were holding onto the Ball Gnomes because of survival. They just wanted to have a card to make sure that they can start the chain with survival. It's gonna tap some lands here. Sure, let's say draw 4. Send the turn back. Burning Wish is interesting. An Armageddon could be a problem. An Armageddon style card. I definitely did not play around an Armageddon style card. I guess it would need to be something like Epicenter, which is pretty hot to be fair. When I was a kid, I was like, it blew me out. It blew my mind when they printed Epicenter. I was like, what? Red Armageddon? That's incredible. Anarchy can probably beat that one. Winter Orb is kind of annoying. So the last card in hand is an Anarchy. So I do need to be a little bit careful here. I think I'm going to kill the Korean Ranger with this Death Grasp. So I can have 4 mana untapped if I scrying for 4. I think I'm supposed to. I go down to 5. That's still a fine life total. That's a lot of lands. Okay. And tap that. Tangle Wire, tap 2 creatures. Exalted Angel is nice. So that means that I can use that to stop the Anarchy. What to do? Definitely going to continue hitting my land drops here. I can just... I guess I just pass the turn. Yeah, I just pass the turn. If my opponent Anarchies, then I can either Wrath or I can just cast an Exalted Angel. I think casting Exalted Angel is better than Wrathing. Opponent Anarchies, kills all my dudes. Get in there for 2. Maybe I should have killed the bird. That's a good draw. Okay, so now that I drew that, I am just going to Wrath instead. Because I just get rid of my opponent's creatures. And now we have the game locked up. Unless my opponent has another Winter Orb, I guess. So I time block them now. You only get to untap 1 land. And this is what we're main decking the one of Disenchant, folks. End step, destroy Winter Orb, untap. That's a Girard's Verdict. I guess I might as well fire it off. Maybe there's something valuable they didn't get to cast. Even if I get a land, that's kind of fine. Krosun Tusker? Ooh, hell yeah. Now, we're gonna get there here. We top deck the land, so they ship the turn back. Here's an attack for 4. And I think this is actually lethal Death Grasp, if I'm not mistaken. So this is 7, 12, 13, 14. Oh, no, okay, so it was down to 1. All right, so I do like Vendetta. I do like Smother. Disenchant, Seal of Cleansing, also fantastic. Lake Speeder seems incredible. What do I not like? I think I'm going to cut a couple of Vindicates. Not super hot on the Duresses. I think I'd rather have Verdicts. And Wrath is great, Angel is fine, Skeletal Scrying is great, maybe Death Grasp can go. Plague is weird, right? Because they have so many different things. So Plague is mostly just a removal spell. I think I'm going to cut an Eternal Dragon. Just going to go with this. So this is a hand that needs a white source. But it's pretty good though, so I think I'm going to keep it. If we find a white source, and once again Eternal Dragon definitely counts as a white source here, we're going to be in extremely good shape. Shield Sphere. Turn 1, Duress you. What you got, opponent? Tangle Wire or Sabos Web? I think I'm gonna get the Sabos Web here. Burning Wish is also tempting, but I think I'm gonna go with Sabos Web. My opponent doesn't really have a way to get too much value from the Tangle Wire, but Sabos Web is a card that my opponent can actually just cast preemptively and then draw a card, dig a little bit deeper into their deck. So they do cast the Burning Wish, getting Call of the Herd. That's a good one. That's also a good one. So play out Cave of Coilos, ship the turn back. Maybe I should have just like verdicted there so my opponent cannot just play the Call of the Herb. Because now they can just play the Tangled Wire. I think if they play the Wire, I Source the Blushers the Shield Sphere. No. I'm definitely going to Source the Blushers the Elephant Token now though. So get rid of the Elephant Token. Now I get a much juicier Girard's Verdict. I guess not that much, because they still just get to discard a Squee, so that's not great for me, but they did discard a Tangle Wire. So now they get to flashback Call of the Herd, which I'm not going to plow. Oh, Tangle Wire is a good draw for them there. Actually, do I just plow the Shield Sphere? If I plow the Shield Sphere, that time walks them twice. Yeah, okay. Maybe this is an aggressive Source of Plowshares there, but by having my opponent have access to one free thing that they can tap, that seems pretty bad for me. Finding a land there is great. So now on my upkeep, I just get to cycle Decree, make 1 extra token. Just making random bodies that I can tap to this Tangle Wire really minimizes the effect of the card, so... We do kind of lose to Winter Orb. We also do kind of lose to a Goblin Welder. But yeah, here we're just going to cycle on upkeep, just to make a dude, make sure we can hit our land drop, ship the turn back. So now we only have to tap 2 things, which means we get to morph this Exalted Angel. We're looking pretty good here. Call of the Herd token. Untap, tap 2 things, morph, Exalted Angel. Send the turn back. We were every time we were just disruptive enough, and my opponent couldn't really, you know, get too much value from what they were doing. Quirion Ranger. We know they have Squee in hand. 2 Quirion Rangers. So let's flip the Angel. I'm just gonna tap the Swamp here, because this means that my opponent cannot actually... The Soldier token means they can't attack with the Quirion Rangers. Having drawn another Angel is not bad. At this point, Winter Orb doesn't even do that much. So I don't think I'm really afraid of anything anymore. Second Tangle Wire is just whatever. I'm just gonna untap this Angel every turn, and it's just gonna be fine. We're going to very easily win this race. 1, 2, 3, 4 things. I guess I can just make another morph. Might as well. Second morph is even very nice because it helps me. It puts more stuff into play, which works well against the Tangle Wires, and also it makes it so I don't even care about Anarchy anymore, because I just don't flip this Angel until it's lethal, and now Anarchy still leaves me with a morph in play that I can flip next turn and just kill my opponent in a couple of swings. So I'm in really good shape here, I think. This is, by the way, exactly the kind of matchup that we want to get paired against, right? A deck that is trying to assemble a bunch of little synergies, and you know, where if they draw their cards in the wrong order, and we can actually punish them very, very strongly. So yeah, this seems like a pretty great matchup for me. Also, it helped me that my opponent drew 3 Tangle Wires both games, you know? And as I said, these are not that awesome when you're not looping them with Goblin Welder. All right, see you next round. Round number 3, and we're starting off with like the perfect mid-range hand, right? Opponent plays a creature, can plow it. Opponent plays a non-creature, then we duress it. Everything's covered. Another Birds of Paradise deck. This is potentially good for us. Let's see. Definitely gonna duress here because they could have survival. Cabal Therapy, Pernicious Deed. So they have both duress and therapy. Actually, I think I'm just going to name duress here. I'm just gonna take duress here. So this means that my opponent, if they want to like take... There's no way that they guess Swords to Plowshares from here. So if they therapy, they're pretty likely to whiff. And I can just vindicate the Pernicious Deed if I care about doing that. Which I probably will, because my opponent will actually have the perfect information afterwards, right? So they do therapy, and I do expect them to whiff here. They named Cabal Therapy, perfect. They do not flashback. I guess they're going to flashback with the Ravenous Rats, aren't they? So I think I'm just going to discard the Plains. I could also just discard Caves. I think I'm just going to discard Plains here. So now they're going to flashback, probably naming Vindicate, which is fine. Yeah, so they flashback Therapy. They name Swords. Okay, you got it. Untap, draw Decree. It's a good one for my opponent not to know about. It also probably means that we're going to get rid of the Pernicious Deed here. There's also the possibility that I want to just hold on to that and simply just like not use my Vindicate. I definitely don't want to blow up the birds. I may want to blow up a basic though, in case my opponent draws the Range Hermit. So far we do have perfect information. We do know that my opponent, what my opponent hand is. Yeah, I'm just gonna play the Reflecting Pool, play the lands that my opponent knows about. Just ship the turn back. They may top deck specifically the Range Hermit, and that would be pretty bad for me. World of Blossoms is pretty darn good for them. Pretty fantastic draw, that one. Into Duress, that's brutal. Jesus. It's kind of the ideal sequence for them there. So now they have Deed in hand. Duress, Exalted Angel. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to that one. It cannot get duressed away, and I can just straight up hardcast it for 6 mana if I find any land. So it's probably fine. Opponent sandbagging the Deed. Do I want to cycle? I think so. I think I'm okay cycling the first one here. We have more if we need it, but kind of want to find the dragon here. Eternal Dragon would be fantastic. Oh, great. Absolutely awesome. So now we get to duress away the Pernicious Deed. Perfect. And play out the Caves of Coilus. I think... So if I morph the Exalted Angel here, it is better. So by morphing the Exalted Angel, I am exposing it to Smother and another Pernicious Deed. And by leaving it in hand, I am exposing it to exactly Cabal Therapy. Also, I do get to swing on the first turn next turn. Is Pernicious Deed enough for me to want to morph here? So it's exactly 3 cards in my opponent in 48. I think I'm gonna risk it here. And the reason to do this is next turn I get to attack for 4 in the air, and I can put my opponent on a 5-turn clock. Again, if they top deck exactly Pernicious Deed, I get super blown out, but it is what it is. They top deck Duress, which puts me very far ahead. Also, my top decks are so much better than my opponents. I can just top deck stuff like Eternal Dragon and things like that. And the best thing my opponent can top deck is Range Hermit. I can also draw more Decrees. As usual with this kind of deck, the best top deck is very often Eternal Dragon. Yeah, in my Elder, not super impressive. They crack the Elder immediately, and they get 2 basic forests. Okay, Source to Plowshares is a good one, because I can just plow the bird. Like, my opponent may think that they have 1 more turn, but in reality they don't. 28. I'm not gonna plow right now though, there's no reason to, and if my opponent top decks Pernicious Deed, then they're gonna clear away their own bird for me. Ooh, I also have, oh my god, I have 2 Skeletal Scryings in here. More Wall of Blossoms. That's a Baloth. Don't care too much about that one. Gerard's Verdict, sure. I'm gonna discard, one of my opponent's cards in hand is actually a reroll card. The other one is one of the lands, but it was a Hermit, oh my god. That's sick. Well, that worked out for me. Beautiful. The only problem is now I really have to dodge. I guess my opponent has exactly maybe 1 or 2 cards that beat me here, and it's exactly Recurrent Nightmare. I can probably beat everything else, but Recurrent Nightmare I probably lose to. This is fine. I'm not gonna chump with the Soldier token because my opponent may have Diabolic Edict, but yeah, I'm probably raising everything else. That's a good one. Okay, so I can make it 4/4. Okay, my opponent takes their chump block there, which I'm surprised by. I do think I'm just gonna decree for X = 1. This puts lethal on board. This puts lethal on board, so it forces my opponent to chump, to throw away the Baloth. Alright, so even if they had Pernicious Deed, they cannot play, they're forced to sack to blow up the Angel token. Okay, so we're playing against the Rock. We like Phyrexian Furnaces, probably don't want Vendetta. I think I want Gerard's Verdict. Opponent's playing a version with Burst of Paradise, so I may want Plague Spitter. Definitely not Engineer Play, but probably Plague Spitter, and I do want Haunting Echoes, and I may want Dust Bowl. Don't want Disenchant, and I can cut at least 2 Duresses. Anything else? Vindicate is fine. Can just cut 3 Duresses and just leave the Gerard's Verdicts in. Yeah, this is fine. I just don't want to have a bunch of Duresses against my opponent Cabal Therapy / Duress deck. They also are playing Rats, but that Verdict is kind of fine because sometimes they're going to need to sandbag stuff to not play into Rats and stuff, so I think that's fine. Not extremely excited about Source to Plowshares, but it's fine. I definitely don't want Disenchant. I already have that access to that effect in Vindicate. Diabolic Edict and Smother are the only interesting ones, but I don't think, with my opponent having a bunch of walls and stuff, like Edict, it's probably not going to be great. Okay, on the draw, Sand looks decent. It's bad against the rest, but it has the best card in the matchup. Actually, I'm kind of off it. Opponent kept 7. Yeah, I'm just going to keep this. Opponent turn 1, the rest probably. Okay, so there goes the Skeletal Scrying. That's actually pretty bad for me. Well, never mind, I guess. So my best draw is probably Gerard's Verdict. Turn 2 wall. It's pretty good in the face of a potential Cabal Therapy. Okay, I'm going to do rest now. See what my opponent's cooking with. Also, it allows me to Skeletal Scrying next turn. Double Recurrent Nightmare. Okay, that's very scary. I'm going to I really need to find Furnace quickly. Play out a Llanowar Waste. I do wonder if my opponent is going to expose the Nightmare. Okay, they do. So I may draw, let's play a land here and say go. I may draw a Vindicate here. I think I'm going to Scrying for 2 because I'm kind of very interested in finding something quickly here. So yeah, we're just going to X = Source to Plowshares, Gerard's Verdict. Well, awkwardly, oh, there we go. I was going to say awkwardly enough, I cannot actually Gerard's Verdict because my opponent is going to discard the Range Hermit. So I think I have to Vindicate the Recurrent Nightmare. There we go. So we Vindicate the Nightmare. Now we don't have to worry about that anymore. Only problem now is my opponent will get to play the Range Hermit. So that's bad for me. So now they get to cast Hermit. Although I guess I can just cycle and they could just block a bunch of the dudes. So I may be able to beat this Hermit, actually. I can also attempt to time walk my opponent, or I can just plow the Hermit now. That means I get to make 2 tokens, trade with both squirrels. I definitely want a Verdict, though, to make sure my opponent doesn't have any more cards. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to pass the turn. Okay, so now we're going to cycle Dragon, get a Plains, play the Plains, Gerard's Verdict, pass the turn, no cards in hand for opponent, discarding Wall of Blossom and Llanowar Wastes. I imagine they're going to pay for upkeep, and then I get to plow the Hermit. If they don't, I get to plow the Treetop Village, which is also pretty decent for me. Dust Bowl would be a pretty good draw. I'm going to take 4. I could just make it 4-4, honestly. Just hard cast a Decree. Nice draw. Yep. Okay, let's do that. So, blow up the Treetop, suck in the Plains. And I'm doing this right now because I don't want my opponent to have access to 5 mana. This means that we're taking 4 again. I think that's fine. This is worse against Duress. I don't know, it's close. I definitely don't want to Eternal Dragon just yet. We're gonna get there, but not quite yet. So play Caves of Koilos. I guess I'm making a 4-4. I don't think I have the time to mess around. So we're gonna make it 4-4 now, and then I'm going to, on my next upkeep, get back Eternal Dragon. So this is going to stop the Squirrel Onslaught. This is bad against removal, right? Like, yeah, okay, Chain or Sea Deck. Yeah, that's bad now. So we're gonna be taking 4 now. Yeah, that's bad. So play Eternal Dragon, get Eternal Dragon back. Yeah, maybe I should have just cycled Decree. Oh my god, that's pretty good. Okay, so play that, pass the turn. Do I have time for this, actually? So I'm taking 4 now. Okay, taking 4. I can cycle Dragon, birds. I guess I'm gonna need to find a way to kill my own Plague Spitter or to gain a life. I can cycle Dragon, get a land, next turn, get back Eternal Dragon, and play Plague Spitter. Then my opponent attacks, I block, I take 3, down to 1. Is that good enough? I mean, the best draw would be an Angel. If I draw an Angel, I probably win. Because I can... Oh, actually, I can't do both Angel and Dragon and Spitter. Yeah, I think I'm just going to untap. This is just so bad if my opponent top decks... Oh, okay. Okay, that's actually pretty good. So what I can do now is I can do 1, 2, 3, play out the Spitter, and now I cycle Eternal Dragon and I Verdict myself. Yeah, so in fact what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to... Oh, there's no way that they have instant speed. But what I can do is I can Verdict target myself, and with that on the stack, I can cycle the Dragon. So now we go up to 11, and now this Plague Spitter is gonna wrath the board. Also, I don't care about the Chainer's Edict flashback, and now we're gonna get to get the Dragon back. We can't cast it in the same turn, however. Chainer's Edict, yep, resolves. I don't think my opponent knows that this also triggers when my dude dies. So get back the Dragon, draw a Swamp, okay, play my land and pass the turn. I don't know yet if I want to cycle this or not. Not quite sure yet. Okay, that answers the question. I don't want to do it. I'm just going to hard cast it next turn. So I only have 8 mana, unfortunately. Therapy. Well, my opponent knows what my hand is, so I'm just going to cycle instead. Get my Plains. Now Therapy is going to fizzle. A good day to pie is what my opponent named. That's hilarious. So opponent up to 6 mana, which means that flashback looking pretty reasonable. Oh no, I tapped the wrong land. Whoops. Flashback on those Chain or Edict looking pretty reasonable. Well, that was a huge mistake tapping the Dust Bowl, because I could have destroyed 2 of my opponent's land. I can destroy 1 land here and then another land next turn. Pretty huge mistake. So I think I'm actually gonna cycle here and then upkeep Dust Bowl. Because if I just hardcast my Eternal Dragon, my opponent can just play a land and just destroy it. So I think I'm just going to spend this turn to cycle, find another land, untap, not be an idiot, and actually tap my mana properly. That's the strategy here. Play out the Plains, and I'm just gonna Dust Bowl this right now, discarding the Caves. So now down to 5 mana, meaning that they're gonna need to find a land. It means they can flashback Therapy if they want, but I think that's fine. It's this my Elder. Okay, that's great. That's so good. So I have 10 mana. This means I get to make 3 tokens. Or I can just cycle. Cycle is better against Pernicious Deed, so I think that's fine. Because I kind of lose to Pernicious Deed otherwise. About Therapy. I think my opponent is going to suspect that I have a decree, so I'm just going to cycle here. They're going to name Eternal Dragon anyway, but... So this gives me 7 tokens. Let's draw another land, please. No! Not an angel! Oh no, that sucks. So now they're going to be able to flashback both therapies and get rid of both of my cards. I guess that they know about the dragon, so they're going to name the dragon anyway, but... And I'm one short of like getting this in the same turn. Man, that's brutal. So they're just going to sack the wall now. Because they have to. Like, they're losing to this angel so badly, so they really have to. Oh, their last card in hand was another therapy. Well, there you go. That explains a lot. So now the Chain Arcetic doesn't matter anymore. And now Eternal Dragon is going to get to do its thing. Kind of tap like garbage there, but it's fine. Okay, so do I want to blow up this? I think so. I think I do. It forces my opponent to sack the Elder. I guess they want to do that anyway, but they don't. I think they definitely wanted to discard to sack the Elder there. Because what if they had drawn the Range Hermit? Also, it gives them 2 looks at finding it. Now I'm going to get to resolve this dragon. Okay, we're kind of flooding a little bit, but it's fine. Here's a 5/5 that cannot be killed. So even if my opponent has Deed, I still get half time, at least. I think my opponent should have sacked the Elder the previous turn. This means I can't stop the Chain Arcetics. Opponent found 2 basic forests. 5 mana, it's a Hermit. That's fine. I'm probably going to race, I think, because I don't want to just be dead to Pernicious Deed. Let's see if we can draw something good here. Gerard's Verdict. I'm going to get a card from your hand. And I know one of them is a forest, which is nice. Forest, Naturalize. I think there are no targets for Naturalize in my entire deck, but... Do I play out the Swamp? I think no, because holding on to it may matter because of drawing another Verdict. And I can just hardcast anything that I want. Oh, Death Grasp would be sick. Actually, Death Grasp would be hilarious. I may need to like double block a bunch of these tokens, at least a couple of them. Plenty of fantastic draws here. Another Exalted Angel, we can draw another Decree, we can draw another one of these dragons. We can draw a Vindicate, which basically guarantees that I win the race. We can even draw Swords to Plowshares. I think my opponent should attack with all the Squirrel tokens and the Rager. They should send everything. I think that they suspect that they may get blown out by Swords to Plowshares. But if that's the thing, then they should have flashed back Therapy. They don't attack. That is a mistake for sure. So if they were so scared of Swords to Plowshares, they should have like started the turn by flashing back Therapy, naming Swords. Oh, I should not have played a land. Whoops. Automatically played it. And I definitely shouldn't have. Oh, they're scared of like me swinging back and killing them. Me just like taking a bunch of damage and then like swinging back and killing them on the crackback. That's what they're scared of. But now we can do that. But like the previous turn, we couldn't do it. Because if I take a bunch of damage, then I can't swing back for lethal. Yeah, I don't like this attack now. Because now I can just put 3 here. And then 1 on each squirrel, and this plays around everything, and it kills all of their squirrels. I only take 2, and I can still play around Double Edict. But I only take 2. We still have 2 Soldier tokens, and now we actually can swing back for lethal. Yeah, I think my opponent got a little bit hasty there in the end, but there we go. Technically 2-1, but actually 3-0 because we actually won on time versus McLean. But round number 4. This hand does not look great, so let's mulligan. We're on the draw, by the way. This hand looks much better, so let's keep this one. Bottom that Decree. This hand's kind of a banger. Okay, so do I need to lead on duress here? I think so. Plays around like counterspell and stuff. Hey, look at that, counterspell. So counterspell, Fire Ice, Foil. I think I just take the counterspell. Yeah, this looks fine. So next turn we can probably just play out a Furnace. Fire Ice kind of good in the face of these Decree, but it's fine. Let's do this now for F6 value. But so we're playing against some sort of like blue-red. This could be Dreadnought. But if this is Dreadnought, the draw that my opponent kept is quite that's an angel, which we can't really play, so we're gonna have to wait until we have 6 mana. So we're just gonna chill here. Comes a Gush. Yeah, so this must be, I'm assuming blue-red Dreadnought, but honestly don't know. Suppose we're gonna find out soon enough. So right now we know 4 cards from my opponent's hand. No Dreadnought is good. Do I want to... I think I'm just going to crack this Furnace here, just so I can dig a little bit deeper into my deck. Having drawn a second Eternal Dragon, I'm just going to Plane Cycle. Get my planes, send my opponent to discard. They discard an island. When they have foil in hand, that's kind of interesting. Ice my white source. You got it, champ. So now we don't have that much information about what my opponent's got going on. We know that they cycle the ice. I'm kind of tempted to just... I think I'm just going to morph this Exalted Angel here. Obviously, if they are sandbagging a second Fire and Ice, then... Or if they just drew a second Fire and Ice, that's fine. But if they do that... Okay, so they have days. So if they... what I was going to say is, if they do that, then they can shrimp me next turn, so... That's a good days, though, for my opponent. Still nothing, though. Do I want to make some Decree tokens? Or do I want to spend this turn to cycle another Eternal Dragon? Yeah, I'm probably just going to make a couple of Decree tokens. If my opponent has another Fire Ice and I just get to trade 2 tokens for that, that's fine. But I don't have an answer to a Dreadnought quite yet. And I'm very interested in, you know, if I want to like be a little bit comfortable here, I definitely want to have access to at least one answer to Dreadnought. So get a couple of dudes here. Draw a card. That's another angel. Not bad. Okay, that's pretty sexy. So let's UR's Verdict my opponent. Not a bad draw at all. I could have played another Exalted Angel, but I think if I do that, then my opponent's just going to... Ooh, we gain a bunch of life. Cool. So we know they have foil and nothing else. Do I want to play out this Exalted Angel? It's just so bad in the face of Lightning Bolt. I think I'm just going to cast... I'm just going to cycle one of these Eternal Dragons. Get in there. I'm going to cycle another dragon, and I think I'm just going to hard cast the Angel through Daze. I guess I can just hard cast one of the dragons. It's probably better, because I know that it can just get foiled. The problem is it can also just get dazed. Yeah, I'm just going to hard cast the Angel here, so I force the foil out of my opponent's hand, and I get to play around Daze. Next turn we get to cast an Eternal Dragon through Daze. There's the foil that we knew about, but this is kind of just fine, right? Because if my opponent holds on to that foil, then that is a way for them to beat to protect their Dreadnought. So by forcing them to use it, it makes my thing better. So let's bait out another counterspell here, which can't be Daze. That resolved. Okay, it's gonna be a quick clock. I think I'm gonna upkeep one of these dragons. I could also just draw a bunch of cards, but I don't want to get destroyed by a counterspell. So I'm just going to do this, and I think I'm going to cycle it now. Now, actually, this puts a lot of pressure, so I'm just going to swing for 7. This is a 2-turn clock, by the way. My opponent can ice the dragon, that's fine. So now I can send these dudes, and I think... Yeah, I'm just going to pass the turn. I think I'm going to scrying for 3. Okay, here comes the Dreadnought, and they charm it. So now we're going to scrying for 3. Actually, I'm going to do it for 2 to play around Ace. Scrying for 2. 2 lands. Kind of brutal. Untap. That's a good draw. Okay. We eventually found what we were looking for. Notably, this is a swing that puts my opponent at 1-turn clock now. So my opponent kind of has to counter this dragon, if they can. Because now every single dragon is just lethal. The question now is, do I block? And I think I do, because now I can die to Fling. I can also just Source to Plowshares my own dude. That's also an option. I can Source to Plowshares their dude. So let's do that. Let's Source to Plowshares, see what my opponent does. That resolved. Okay, so that should be game now. Now we get our dragon back. I love Eternal Dragons so much. This deck is basically cards that Fran loves. Just put them all together. Exalted Angel, Eternal Dragon. Such a beautiful 1-2 punch. So now, I think we win the race regardless. Yep, okay. Blue-Red Dreadnought. We want Vendetta, Diabolic Edict. We also want Disenchant and Seal of Cleansing. And I think I want Cop Red. Like, it's not incredible or anything, but I think it does enough. We're gonna cut the Furnaces. And I think I'm gonna cut 2 Rats. I'm not in love with Vindicate, but it's okay. I guess I can cut one of them, since I added more efficient answers. Oh, I think I actually won the 4th Verdict as well. So I love Skeletal Scrying. I do think Death Grasp is okay. Wouldn't say it's great or anything, but it's just fine. I think I'm gonna leave in the Death Grasp because it's actually an answer to Lavamancer and stuff. So I think I'm gonna cut a Dust Bowl. Actually, Dust Bowl seems decent. Their mana base is pretty rough. So let's cut a Vindicate and a Death Grasp. Could potentially cut Skeletal Scrying, but I think I like that card well enough. This draw seems okay. Not fantastic or anything, but seems decent enough. Turn 1 Portent. Funnily enough, not every Blue-Red Dreadnought deck is playing Portent, which surprises me a lot. Opponent did not shuffle. Another Plains is not great, but hitting land drops is fine. Would definitely love to be hitting some better land drops, but Reflecting Pool, send the turn back. If my opponent doesn't do anything, I think I just play out the Exalted Angel next turn, just so I can use my mana. Unless I find a land. If I find a land, yeah, okay. So now since I found the land, I guess I can just Vindicate the City of Brass. I'm not in love with that. It uses my mana though. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna Vindicate that. I actively want my opponent to counter this, but it's a way that I can use my mana and I can either put my opponent behind, or like maybe a little bit to have them struggle on mana, or I can just exchange this Vindicate for, okay, Hardcast Daze. Yeah, that's fine. So we just traded card for card, and that's something that I'm interested in doing. Now we get to, I guess, Morph an Angel. I'm assuming this is gonna get countered. I guess it can get bolted or Fire Iced, but I would be surprised if my opponent has Fire and Ice still in their deck. Okay, Bolt I'm not so surprised about, but Fire Ice I would be kind of surprised by. Let's do nothing with 5 cards left in hand. Ice my land? Yeah, that's okay. Duress? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna Duress now. The reason to Duress now is like if my opponent has a counterspell, they actually need to like take damage to do it. Again, that's a counterspell that, you know, doesn't answer my Source of Plowshares, Edict, etc. Tormod's Crypt. You got it. So that Tormod's Crypt is not gonna do too much. So that's great for me. That's effectively a mulligan on my opponent's part. I guess they were scared of Eternal Dragon. I mean, it's one of the advantages of, you know, playing a non-stock deck, right? Okay, now opponent knows about the Source of Plowshares. I do not like Ursus Bubble in that deck. Not a fan. The delayed draw in a deck like this one, it's that much worse. I mean, take a look at this hand and tell me how much better, how good it is to have Meddling Mage in your deck, right? Not that I don't have it covered, right? But it would at least make things a little bit closer. But now I have infinite Source of Plowshares. Seems really hard for my opponent to beat this. It may get to a point where I'm just like disenchanting my opponent's script. Now I'm not gonna run the Exalted Angel into opponent's potential something. But I have so many answers to Dreadnought that I think I'm just going to disenchant the Tormod's Crypt, just so I don't have to go to discard next turn. So disenchant the Crypt, not even crack it. Eternal Dragon's my best draw. 4 of a kind. Love to see it. Yeah, so I don't want to run this Exalted Angel into Daze. So I definitely want to hardcast it because I don't want it to die to another Lightning Bolt. So that makes things a little bit more awkward. So I need to basically sit on it until I have enough mana to play it through the days. If I find the dragon, I'm gonna feel extremely good about my position. Skeletal Scrying. So I think I'm just jamming Death Grasp for value, because I'm gonna be discarding, and I'm gonna discard the Death Grasp anyway. So might as well throw it on my opponent's face. Go up to 24. Dreadnought, Vision Charm. Okay. So now we're going to put a stop on my opponent's next upkeep. It's a Lava Man. That's funny. Okay, so how do we do this? The problem is that the Grim Lavamancer blanks my Diabolic Edict. So I think I still have to Source of Plowshares the Lavamancer. It's really awkward, but yeah. So we do that, then opponent taps, and we're just gonna throw a bunch of swords into that shrimp. It's another sword. We go to 12. Unless they have a second fling, should be cooking now. I can draw 2 on end step. I think that I'm just going to use more stuff here, so land is fine. So let's play the cop. That resolved. Okay, so I'm feeling very comfortable about my position now. We have a Skeletal Scrying in hand, which is going to help us refuel. My opponent did not have the counter for the cop red, so I'm assuming... Yeah, that's fine. Ice my Reflecting Pool. I'm assuming that they... like, I'm not worried about fling anymore. I'm also not worried about a Dreadnought. Another Dreadnought is fine. I'm going to plow it. They gain a bunch, but it's not gonna matter. Now we're going to untap, and we're gonna be able to play this Exalted Angel. Notably, my opponent did not have the counter spell there, so there's an Angel. So what could happen here is end step, my opponent ices the Reflecting Pool, then untaps, and they flink a Dreadnought at my face. that means that my opponent would have Dreadnought number 3 and Second Fling, so seems pretty unlikely. And if this Exalted Angel connects even a single time, I think that locks the game up. Yeah, okay, cool. So we're good now. We just win. Do I want to draw a bunch of cards? I can draw 4. Yeah, okay. So let's draw 4. Selling a bunch of Source of Plowshares. Draw a bunch. Play a land. Do I want to duress here? I think I'd rather duress than Gerard's Verdict. Reason being, yeah, they just have a bunch of dead cards that don't do anything. So the reason to duress there is so that I don't overexpose myself to... I still have a bunch of cup value at hand. But yeah, I think my opponent they did not know what to care about, really. So they overboarded a bunch. Which is something that, it's one of the advantages of playing a deck like this, right? Like a brew. So definitely got brewer's advantage here. Might as well cash in this Verdict. I'm not going to cash in the second one. I don't think there's a need to. But I can just save it for the future. They held onto the Pyroclasm. Send it back. But yeah, we're just way too far ahead at this point. Rim Lavamancer. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 mana. We're going to go up to 10. Means we can just hardcast this Decree. Opponent with 1 card in hand, which is this Pyroclasm. So yeah, we're just going to go for the style points here. Oh yeah, baby. I want some 4/4. Give me those 4/4s. 1 turn clock, baby. Going from a 4-turn clock to a 1-turn clock. Just like that. Alright. GG's. And that is 3-0. 3-1, but technically 4-0, but actually 3-1. Alright, everybody. Here we go for the last match. I'm playing against Will. I think I'm going to keep this hand. We're going to be hitting a bunch of land drops. And we can play a long game. As usual, Will is on Stasis, which is not particularly surprising. So we're going to be playing this one pretty slow, I think. I think it's going to be interesting when we're going to choose our spot. But I think priority number 1 is to make sure that we hit every land drop. So I'm just going to take this chance to cycle here. Unfortunately, we're not really going to be able to bring back our dragon. Eventually, we're going to be able to Decree, which is nice. Decree is probably like the best card in the deck for us. Dust Bowl is a good one, particularly for Will to not know about it, because if he's trying to do something like exactly taking CD, then now we actually can play the Dust Bowl when I can send the turn back. And step he impulses. I feel like we're just gonna be doing this for a minute. Okay, so he's playing his blue-white version. The question now is, do I want to blow this up or do I want to cycle? I think I'm just gonna blow up the Forsaken CD. So let's do that. I think I'm gonna sack the plains. So there goes that. Untap. Would love to find like a duress or something, but so far no luck. Alright, so there's the Stasis. Travis Ruins. Interesting. It's pretty good actually. So we have infinite land drops. But I'm not gonna do anything until I find the duress. Pass the turn back. Man, this is actually super interesting. Like, I've never played, this matchup on these terms, you know what I'm saying? Travis Ruin actually looks fantastic. Like if you're splashing white and you get to like bounce one of your lands under a Stasis, like Travis Ruin seems fantastic in that deck. It's pretty funny that Will just has not been able to find. I have not found the duress, and Will has not found either a Gush or anything like that. So he also hasn't found the Black Vice as a win condition. So it's really funny. We're both just kind of hitting land drops and doing nothing else. Eventually he's gonna want to like bring back his own Stasis. Keep hitting land drops. Man, I sure would love to have a duress. I wonder if we're gonna find a duress at some point. Or I guess a Gerard's Verdict too. Either one of those would be fine. We can't really vindicate the Stasis, unfortunately. Okay, so finally he missed a land drop there, which means that he's gonna be discarding. Oh, never mind. He's got a Gush. I mean, he's still discarding here, so... Discard Counterspell, Impulse, Forsaken CD. Man, this is like the slowest game I've ever played. I could cycle to hit a land drop if I want to, but I don't think that I do want to just yet. I may have to now, or I guess next turn. I sure would love to see a duress. I imagine this Impulse is looking for a win condition, and I think maybe this coming turn he's going to... Oh, so if he misses a land drop, now I can just Dust Bowl the Travis Ruins, forcing him to like bounce his own Stasis. I don't understand why he hasn't been tapping his lands that way. Do I want to Do I want to Dust Bowl the Trevas? I don't think so. I'm just gonna let him go to cleanup. Annul Impulse Forsaken City. Oh, there you go. So I think I'm just going to, I guess I'm gonna hit my land drop, or I can blow up the case. So if I blow up Trevas Ruins, then he's going to bounce with Chain of Vapor, the Stasis. So I guess I can Duress. Let's Duress to see what he has in hand. He can Thwart or something like that. That would be kind of annoying. He doesn't. Oh, he doesn't have a bounce spell? Well, this is kind of sick. Well, I'm gonna take your Gush. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Gush, and I'm gonna blow up now the Trevas Ruins. So blow that up, Sucking Caves. I guess this was bad now that I think about it, because now what he can do is he can... Yeah, maybe that was bad, because now what he can do is he can top deck another Forsaken City, and that's really bad news for me. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. So he plays a land. We're gonna untap here. I'm not cycling Eternal Dragon because I don't think I have to. I can just do that whenever I want to hit my land drop, but yeah. So we're gonna discard the Source of Plowshares now. I don't think problem with that. Pays for Stasis, and now he has one more guaranteed island, which is that one. Now we untap again. Man, I don't understand the people who say that playing against Stasis is not interesting. Like, this is an extremely interesting match that we're playing right here. So I think I'm gonna cycle Eternal Dragon now and get a Plains. I can't really play a spell into the Thwart, because then he just gets to counter it for free. So I have to hope that he misses a land drop. That's a land drop. So we're gonna do it one more time. Okay, that's good. Hitting lands is great. That's exactly what we want. He fetches for an island. And if he misses a land drop, I'm going to cycle Decree on my end step. Oh, he found Gush. That's gross. Okay, so now that means 2 more land drops, which is obviously huge. I would love to find my second Dust Bowl. That will mean that Forsaken City doesn't really do anything. It's crying. That's funny. So let's have 6 here, and definitely holding on to this Duress. I think the Angel is what I don't care about. Just too expensive. So now we know that he's going to hit at least 1 more land drop from the Gush. Potentially another one. The good thing is that he can't actually play a win condition, which is hilarious. He needs to eventually find the Chain of Vapor. That's the thing. When he does, that's when things are gonna get awkward. Forsaken City. He taps it main phase to play a Black Vice. Okay, so what we can do now is we untap, we Duress, and then Duress gets thwarted, but I destroy the Forsaken City. So Duress. So he's gonna need to have either double Thwart or Thwart plus foil. If he has that, then we're probably gonna lose. But if he doesn't, then we're actually winning this game. I mean, I don't know if we're winning, but like it's gonna be a lot closer, right? We get to play on, is what I mean. Really wish I had a second Vindicate. Okay, he did have the foil, pitching Island and Black Vice. That sucks. Really wish I had access to a second Vindicate. So yeah, this Dust Bowl may have been a mistake. I mean, on the other hand, it did put Will in this spot where he actually can't use his spells. So maybe it's fine. So he pitches a counterspell that we know of. So we know Arcane Denial, counterspell, and we know that he has 2 more islands. We take 1 here, Phyrexian Furnace. So I can just play that out, but I don't think there's any actual upside to the Furnace. I can also discard this Skeletal Scrying if I want to. So Arcane Denial was pitched. Now he has 2 islands, counterspell. Man, what an interesting game. We're taking damage from the Vice. Wrath of God is what we draw. Brutal. I think we may be dead now. I think we may just be locked here. Okay, he doesn't pitch to the Forsaken City. That's interesting. So that means he has another island in hand. So he has Counterspell and 2 unknowns. I can discard this Skeletal Scrying, I think. I'm gonna have to discard this Furnace at least. By discard, I mean just playing it out. But just to reduce the clock of the Black Vice. But I can't tap too low, so I don't know if I can just like discard these cards because... Oh, he boomerangs now? Oh, that's brutal. So now he has infinite mana. Man, a disenchant there would have been so sick though. Fortunately, we did not find it, but yeah. Okay, so I think we are successfully locked at this point. Second Black Vice. So his hand is Counterspell Unknown. So I guess we're taking 4 this turn. Yeah, we're just gonna get clocked too quickly. And I just don't have the mana to make this work. Yeah, okay. So I was thinking that maybe I can just like draw enough Duresses and stuff, but Yeah, so Swords of Plowshares out, Dust Bowl in, Wrath of God out, obviously. Disenchant, Seal, Gerard's Verdict. And I think I want Plague Spitter, just like a 3-drop that can start clocking, literally just for that. The question now is, do I want Haunting Echoes? I think that Phyrex Infernus is like, it's just fine as a way to like place something onto the board. Yeah, I think Echoes is just like the best card here. Yeah, it's literally the only card that does anything. So yeah, we're gonna go with this. But this setup looks decent to me. But yeah, maybe I got hasty on that Dust Bowl. I should have held on to it and wait until he eventually plays another Forsaken City. That was a super interesting match, though. Super interesting. Well, this looks great, so let's keep this. We get to Duress on 1, then Gerard's Verdict on 2. Interesting. Man, Root Maze is so bad. I think I want to get Sabos Web here. Sabos Web hosts my Dust Bowl. Let's get Sabos Web. And Root Maze looking heinous. Maybe this is a sideboard card. So now we get to Verdict him. I imagine he's probably going to pitch that Root Maze. But I'm just trying to be like a little bit aggressive here, because I think that, I mean, he's probably going to pitch Root Maze and Counterspell. Those are probably like the 2 worst cards in his hand. Yep, exactly. Root Maze, Counterspell. So whatever he drew is better than those. So that's important to know. So if he found a land. So here is a 2/2. If he wants to counter this, I don't really care. This is just pressure. That's all that it is. And I do have access to the Dust Bowl here. Maybe I should have just like played a land and passed the turn, planning to cycle Eternal Dragon on the following turn. I don't think that's what I want to do though. There's Flooded Strand. There's Stasis. There's a Plains. I guess I'm gonna play out the Dust Bowl in case he finds another Root Maze before I have the Dust Bowl. Maybe he has Gush, and this is all just sad for me, but okay, there's Dust Bowl. Maybe I should be attacking here. Really hoping he doesn't find Gush. That's the one I was hoping he wouldn't find. That's the one. Plus of Gix. Gonna hold on to that one for quite a bit here. Maybe I should have just taken the Stasis as opposed to the Sabos Web. The problem is like Sabos Web destroys me. Probably shouldn't have tapped out for the Morph. I think that may have been a mistake. So I don't want to duress just yet. I want to wait to duress until I already have enough lands for Dust Bowl so that I can't get got by the thingies, the lands. Okay, so now I could duress if I wanted to. I guess I'm gonna save the duress until I have Vindicate. If I save duress until I have Vindicate, that's gonna give me like an actual way to get in there. I'm just getting my 2 points in because like this is not gonna be swinging for any more than that. So found the second Gush. That would be terrible. Okay, Travis Ruins. Well, we can blow that up now. So that means like he's just gonna sack the Stasis to the Claws of Gix. So let's play my land, and I'm gonna play Duress now. So by duressing now, if he has another Stasis, he has to use it now. I mean, we're gonna see it now. So if he has like Thor or something, he kind of has to counter this. But now I duress. If I have a second Stasis, I take it. Okay, so he did have the Thwart. So if I know he has 4 islands in hand and then 4 unknowns. So if I Dust Bowl now, then that forces him to like discard the Stasis. Yeah, this is good. So Dust Bowl, blow this up, discarding a Plains. Now he has to pay for Claws of Gix and blow up the Stasis. Oh, he Chain of Vapors? Okay, that's fine. Bounce my Morph? Yeah, whatever. That's fine. So that didn't really achieve anything. It just used the Chain of Vapor, and he does have the Stasis in hand, but he actually can't cast it unless he has exactly the Cave, which he doesn't. So he can't cast it, which means that we get an untap. All right, perfect. So we know he has a bunch of lands, and we know that he has a Stasis. So we're going to play a Morph. 1, 2, 3. We're going to send the turn back. If he plays Stasis, we chill. He doesn't play Stasis, we flip Angel on end step. But holding on to the Dust Bowl is key to play around the city, the Forgotten City. Okay, so he lets me untap, and by doing this, is like I'm actually getting the Angel into play over 2 installments, meaning that I don't need to fully tap out to have this in play, which is pretty nice. Mana short. Well, that's really bad for me. Okay, so we're gonna cycle both of these, and oh, I actually didn't know this. You can like cycle in your own upkeep and get it back immediately. That's sick. Okay, never actually had that come up. So now I know everything's tapped. We do at least have 2 land drops, but I don't know how much that's gonna help. We're gonna get in there for 4. Yeah, that mana short is huge. That's That's such a good mana short. That is such a good mana short. I expected this Stasis to come back. Yeah, there it is. And then he's gonna kind of have stuff set up for at least a couple of turns. One turn too late, boy. One turn too late. So now we're just going to F6 a bunch while hitting my land drops. Yeah, that Forsaken City sucks for me. Okay, okay. Alright. So if I find another black source, so I'm just looking for another black source here. This enchant is an interesting one. Alright. Alright, so maybe we got something going on here. Maybe we got something going on. Pays for it with the city and has a second city. Okay, so now I'm looking for second duress. So he can Chain Vapor his own thing, that's fine. That doesn't achieve that much. So I'm looking for, I guess it would be duress number 4. Yikes. Okay, so he has Stasis, Island. I think I'm gonna go for it. I think I'm going to go for it. Because I know he has at least one island in hand. Second Vindicate doesn't do too much. The problem is if I let more time go, then he's gonna have more cards. He's gonna have more potential counterspells. So let's duress now and see what he's cooking with. He has a counterspell. That's fine. And I think I'm going to upkeep Disenchant. So if he has second counterspell, which he needs to have one in the 2 cards, then I'm probably gonna lose. But I think that this is my best bet. Oh yeah, second Thwart. Yeah, that's devastating. That's literally the worst thing that could have happened. And this is what I kind of wanted to hold on to. Till I had a second duress, but like I already am out of duresses. Like I just used 3. Like the likelihood that I find the very last copy is pretty slim. So it's probably that I think that was my best spot. So now I need to find more lands, and eventually I'm gonna have to, you know, start casting these Vindicates that are extremely unlikely to resolve. So at this point, I think that I'm probably gonna need to get to a point where I find the 4th duress. So I need to find some land drops, and I need to find... Okay, so that one else actually plays. Continues hitting land drops, 5 cards in hand. It's another land. Send the turn back. I guess that technically what I can do is I can just get up to 5 mana and then just cast 2 spells in the same turn. The problem is eventually he's gonna find Gush, and once he does, that just locks it up, so I don't have infinite time. He still has 3 Gushes in his deck. So if I draw a land this turn, I think I may go for it. Okay, so that's not a land. 5 cards, all of which are unknowns. Yeah, I'm just gonna pass the turn. I think I just need to find the duress at this point. I'm not clocked by a vice, so at least I have that going for me. The problem is the threat of finding Gush. That is the biggest issue here. The potential threat of Gush is pretty brutal. Ugh, chains again. So if I find another land, maybe I can Vindicate into Seal. Library. Okay, if I find a land now, maybe this can be fine. Okay, yeah, okay, so I'm going for it. So Vindicate Stasis, 2 mana to counterspell, Seal of Cleansing. And we hope that this works. Please work. Yes! Alright, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wait until the end step, because Will may find a second Stasis. And if that's the case, then what I want to do is I need to get one on tap, right? So he pitches a city, and now he should pay with the city, yeah. So by paying with the city, he plays around this Dust Bowl right here. He paid 4. Interesting. So what he can do now, if he can go land into chain number 4, fetches down to 7. He can't just play a second Stasis, because he's just gonna run out of mana to pay on upkeep. So this seal is actually quite fantastic here. 2 mana for a second Stasis. That's fine. So this means we just sit on this, and then we ship the turn back. Now he stacks his triggers. Man, both games have been so interesting. Like, working on so many axes too, right? So we're working on the, like, try to manage this thing, and, like, he's trying to, but, like, he can't do it comfortably, and I am applying exactly enough pressure to his Stasis that it's making things awkward. This has been fantastic. Both games have been absolutely delightful. Okay, so he actually paid 4 for Sylvan Library. What is he looking for? Gush? Yeah, that's pretty good. Not gonna lie, that's pretty good. Okay, so he has now 5 cards in hand with the double Stasis going on, but he still has no pressure. Still has no pressure, and I'm at 23. Okay, so he attempts to Chain of Vapor And I think I just let this resolve. And now, you know, the likelihood of me winning starts to be a lot smaller at this point, right? So what do we do here? I don't blow up this stasis, right? Because one of them is going to blow up itself. So the question is whether I use this to blow up the library or whether I think I just let this bounce. I think I just let this bounce. I can sack a land to bounce the library. That's probably fine. Actually, no, because that gives him mana to use the Forsaken CDs. The problem is I don't have another answer. If I had another disenchant effect, I would just probably let this go. The problem is this being in my hand is actually fine because it means that if I find a white source on any other land, I get to actually play just to recast this. So I think I let this get bounced and I can bounce the library, but I don't want to. I don't think I want to bounce anything because like whatever I bounce, he can just use, like that's fodder for the Forsaken CDs. So I'm just not gonna suck a land. So now I need to find 2 lands. If I find 2 lands in a row, maybe I can play out the seal. Like one of these stases is just gonna go, I imagine. Brain Freeze, he brought those in. Man, he loves Brain Freeze. Yeah, so the second stasis goes. Maybe I should have blown up the library, I'm not even sure. There's a Vice. So now we take 3. Verdict. Right on time. So we're gonna pitch this Skeletal Scrying here. So he had used 2 of his thwarts and he pitched a foil to one of these cities. He also cannot draw cards with library. So if I eventually find 2 lands, I can attempt to jam into the Black Vice, which I'm probably gonna do. I don't think I can take up too much time. Man, ugh. So we have still not too much time, but we have some time. We have exactly 6 turns. So we need, in 5 turns, we need to find 2 lands. That's what we're looking at. He has 1 card in hand. So like this Seal of Cleansing is kind of somewhat likely to resolve. Okay, that's a land. As they turn back. Oh, he Van Gogh. Okay, never mind. Well, we're dead now. But up until then, it was close. Now it is not. I mean, his hand is 2 lands right now, right? 2 lands, 2 unknowns, but he's got a library going on, so it's pretty likely that he has Counterspell or something. So I can still find 2 more lands and a duress before this Black Vice kills me. Okay, that's not it. But that's lethal though, so definitely gonna keep that one around. So we still have 9 lands in our deck, 2 lands and 3 cards in hand. So before I die to this Vice, I gotta find. Ugh, man. So I guess I can't do that anymore now. So I'm gonna have to jam, and I can't wait anymore. Man, this has been brutal. I feel like this game was insanely close. It came down to him having the this Dwarf into Counterspell on that key turn. And then even after that, it was extremely close as well. Second Gush locks it up. I have to assume. Man. So this means I have to actually blow up the Black Vice as opposed to the Stasis now. I imagine at this point he found the second Vice. So he's just gonna play a Vice now, and then I'm just gonna die on this coming up keep. I imagine that's his game plan here. But yeah, man, crazy games. Crazy games. Super enjoyable, yeah. Alright, GG as well. Really well played. Alright, folks, wrapping this one up. Sorry I'm a little bit under the weather in case you didn't notice throughout this entire league, but yeah, hopefully you didn't. It didn't detract from the quality of the content. But damn, what a deck, huh? What a deck. It was so much fun. I had such a good time playing this deck. It was so interesting. Like every match was just so close, and it came down to like multiple like relevant decisions. That last match against Stasis was an all-timer. Damn, I really don't understand people who say that playing against Stasis is boring or whatever. I don't get it. Every time I play against Stasis, especially playing against a good player like Will is, it's just so close, and there's just so much to it. Like all the fight happens on an axis that is not the normal axis though. Like everything happens, like it's a matter of like likelihood of what they can have in hand. It's a matter of likelihood of like what can you draw, like what's the best spot to choose to cast your spells and stuff. It's so interesting to me. But this deck is really cool. I like a lot about this. I just love the fact that it doesn't play terrible cards. It's so good. And the mana base was, sure, it's very uninspired, to call it somehow, right? Like just a bunch of basics and then like some reflecting pulse in case of Coilos and a couple of dust bowls. Like it's a rather uninspired mana base, but it works. And even though this is supposed to help fix the problem that Deadguy Ale had, still in a couple of spots we struggled a little bit with our mana. So I honestly don't understand how people play the regular, like the stock version of Deadguy Ale, how that deck plays Wastelands. Like it just blows my mind. But this deck is kind of really cool. I really enjoyed it. I loved the fact that all of my cards are pound for pound very strong. I do like that we have catch-up mechanisms in Wrath of God, Decree, and Skeletal Scrying. And then we have probably like the single best threat in the format, like standalone threat. Obviously Dreadnought is a 12/12, right? But like I think this is like the best standalone threat in the entire format. It just doesn't need anything else to go along with it, and it can just win the game by itself. I do like this deck. I do like this engine. Like the Eternal Dragon engine is very strong. I kind of want to have access to a 4th copy of Dragon, maybe over Decree number 3. The problem is like I could also see Decree number 4 making an appearance. Death Grasp was so far the most, I want to say, the most lackluster card, but also I just never had a spot where I wanted to, like, when this was what I was looking for. I feel like even just like as a removal spell, it's just like it's an inefficient removal spell or whatever, but like it's a fine fail case scenario for it. Skeletal Scrying as a 2-off felt fine. I could see going up to 3. I don't think I want less than this. I could also see playing the 3rd or even 4th copy of this in the sideboard, so that's also something to keep in mind as well. But the main deck looked very clean. I also messed around with like a bunch of like cycling lands and stuff like that when I was building my mana base, but I do just like the fact that because our curve is so high, all of our lands just ETB untapped, so we don't really have to worry about that. Like we know if we're in a spot where we want to play Exalted Angel as a 6th drop against like, you know, the Rock or something, then you know that you can just find any land off the top, and that's going to be enough to cast your Exalted Angel, you know, if you don't want to expose it to Deed or Smother or whatever. So I love the fact that it has that going on. I love the Dust Bowls, and, you know, I just wish I could play more Duresses. Like, I low-key felt like I wanted to have access to maybe some Cabal therapies and stuff, but I just don't think that we can realistically support therapy. Sure, like we can, you know, therapy plus Decree of Justice, but we're in a spot where like therapy by itself is not particularly that great, you know? So, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I think that there's some tinkering to be doing with this deck. I feel like, you know, these are probably flex slots. Exalted Angel number 4 is probably a flex slot as well. Like, these Decrees and Death Grasp are also potential flex slots. I do think the Decree is like the best win condition that we can have access to, taking into account what we're trying to do with this deck. So we probably want like 2 or 3 Decrees, maybe even the 4th one. But I don't know, like Death Grasp was the card that I could see it, or I could also just like cut it. Maybe this should be Decree number 4. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it, folks. This was a lot of fun. Definitely very, very strong. And technically a 3-2 record, because we did lose to Enchantress in round number 1, but no, McLean actually gave me the win because he timed out. So kind of awkward in that sense, but still pretty enjoyable first run at this deck. It was doing something strong. Like I was wondering, will this be like a little bit too underpowered considering the rest of the Premodern format? But no, it actually felt like it was the cards pound for pound were pretty strong. It's just a matter of putting them in the correct order and just kind of, you know, drawing them in the correct order, which is a problem that you have in every deck that isn't running cantrips, right? Like, you just need to find every deck that is not Dreadnought. Even Dreadnought sometimes like doesn't find a Dreadnought in like 30 cards or something. Been there, done that. So yeah, I mean, you just have to embrace that part of it. But like, the deck felt super consistent. The deck felt super consistent. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on the way out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.